Good morning. My name is Bishop Ron Shelton. I'm the primus of the Apostolic Celtic Church. And this morning's lesson that I'm giving was just as a brief introduction to a series of topics we're going to be talking about called church traditions. This will be a series of lessons, teachings that I'll be giving out over the next several months. And the topic for today is the family of Jesus. And we're breaking that down to a lesson entitled His Brothers and Sisters. Matthew chapter 1 verse 25 we'll read, Luke chapter 2 verse 7, Matthew chapter 13 verses 54 through 56, Mark chapter 6 verse 3, Galatians chapter 1 verse 19, 1 Corinthians 9:5, and also John chapter 7 verse 5. I want to read these scripture to you. Matthew chapter 1 verse 25 goes, "And knew her not till she had brought forth her firstborn son, and he called his name Jesus." I want to focus there on "knew her not till she had brought forth her firstborn son." That is talking about sexual relations. The Roman Catholic Church believes in the perpetual virginity of Mary, which we do not hold to. They also, many of them, believe that Mary's own mother was a perpetual virgin. So we do not hold to that either. We believe that Mary had other children, and we believe the scriptures and church tradition support that. Luke chapter 2 verse 7, "And she brought forth her firstborn son, and wrapped him in swaddling clothes, and laid him in a manger, because there was no room for them in the inn." I want to focus on her firstborn son. If she didn't have other children, then why would they use the words her firstborn son? Matthew chapter 13 verses 54 through 56 reads, "And when he was come into his own country, he taught them in their synagogue, insomuch that they were astonished, and said, Whence hath this man this wisdom, and these mighty works? Is not this the carpenter's son? Is not his mother called Mary? And his brethren James and Joseph and Simon and Judas, and his sisters, are they not all with us? Whence then hath this man all these things?" Also in Mark chapter 6 verse 3, a similar reading, "Is not this the carpenter, the son of Mary, the brother of James and Joseph, and of Judah and Simon? And are not his sisters here with us?" And they were offended at him. Galatians chapter 1 verse 19 reads, "But other of the apostles saw I none, save James, the Lord's brother." 1 Corinthians chapter 9 verse 5 reads, "Have we not power to lead about a sister, a wife, as well as other apostles, and as the brothers of the Lord, and Cephas?" John chapter 7 verse 5 reads, "For neither did his brethren believe in him." From church tradition and from the scriptures we know that Jesus had four brothers. James, and the Hebrew spelling is Yaakov. Yaakov is how I would pronounce it. There's Joseph, who is spelled in the English version of the Hebrew is Yesef, is where we get the word Joseph. There's Simon, spelled Shimon in the Hebrew. Then there is Judas, and his name in Hebrew is spelled Yehuda. We know that James wrote the book of James in our New Testament. We know Judas, or Jude, wrote the book of Jude in our New Testament. Also, the book of Jude quotes from a portion of Scripture that comes from a book that is not in the Bible of our present-day Western Church. We know that in our church tradition, in our church, that it was James's wedding that was taking place at Cana of Galilee. Under Jewish customs, traditions, ritual laws, if the father died, the oldest son would take the place of the father, meaning he would be the one to deal with all land transactions, marriages, any kind of covenants, any type of ritualistic customs. The oldest son would take the father's place. Now somebody said, well, what if they had no sons? Well, then it would go to his brother. And if his brother was dead, then it would go to his brother's son until they found a male person to stand in. So in our church, we understand it was James that was getting married at the wedding of Cana of Galilee. Why else would Mary come to Jesus and say, they've got no wine, Jesus. What are we going to do about it? We need to do something, Jesus. Because as the oldest male child, he was taking the place of Joseph. and it would have been his responsibility for the wedding feast to have provided the wine, because it would be in the father's home. We also know that James was the first overseer, or we use the word bishop, of the mother church, which was the church in Jerusalem. The mother church of the Christian faith is the mother church in Jerusalem. It's not in Antioch, it's not in Rome, it's not anywhere else. It is in Jerusalem. That was where the church started. That's where the faith started. They have this kind of belief that when Jesus died, Peter just all of a sudden got in a boat, went all the way to Rome, and Christianity started in Rome. No, Christianity started in Jerusalem. James was the first overseer. When James was thrown off the temple and killed, he was thrown off, and then he was clubbed by a fuller's club. He's hit in the head and killed. When he died, his brother Simon became the next overseer or bishop of the church of Jerusalem. The first, in Eusebius' writings of the history of the church, the first 13 bishops of the church in Jerusalem were all interrelated, and it was a hereditary line coming from the family of Jesus. We know that 2 grandsons of Judah, who were then brought before the Roman emperor, and I can't remember the Roman emperor's name, to be questioned because he was in fear of the Davidic covenant, that they were a line of kings. And the story goes that when the emperor looked at their hands and all the calluses, and they were working hands, he just sent them on back, because he said these were not a royal line because they were hard workers. We know that in 318, the Bishop of Rome, Sylvester, invited many bishops from this area to come, and they were all hereditary bishops, and they were all related to each other. And at this meeting, he tried to convince them that the new mother church was supposed to be at Rome, which they refused. And they also told him that they needed to pay homage to the church in Jerusalem. And then we also know that it is believed in church traditions that this hereditary line has continued. Maybe up to this day, maybe not. So when we talk about the brothers and sisters of Jesus, we know them: James, Joseph, Simon, and Judas. His sisters were Mary, known as Miriam; Anna, that name also appears as Mary's mother was named Anna; and then Salome. These are the 3 sisters, and there is a very rich tradition in the church about these 3 sisters and the families that they married into and their descendants. So this is a way of introducing us to church traditions, talking about the family of Jesus, getting down to the brothers and sisters. Hopefully the next lesson we'll have is on Mary and Joseph themselves. And then I also want to talk about this in another lesson, this hereditary line of overseers or bishops that ruled the church in Jerusalem. Thank you, and if you have any questions, just send us a message.